Hello and welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneur Enlightenment TV. Today I have a very special guest. You will be amazed by her story. Her episode name is Sensitive Visionaries, Your Pathway to Personal Power. And her story will show you how that goes about. Julia, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Irina. Thanks. It's great to be here. Hi, everybody. I'm Julia Harrell. I'm a clairvoyant and spiritual guide. I like to help people that feel empathic or sensitive or intuitive, how to turn down the overwhelm and open up more of your natural intuitive abilities.
Mm. And you have a story like you've been into the music industry, a drummer, but you were born sensitive. Is that correct
Oof.
to say?
Oh, boy. Yeah, if you have a scale of 1 to 10 on sensitivity, it's a 12.
Okay, so tell me a bit about how is life when you're young and you're sensitive.
Yes. Let me put a precursor in here that statistics tell us now that about 25% of people identify as being highly sensitive, or these days, HSP, highly sensitive person. So that's probably one of your family members or somebody you know. For me, I grew up thinking that I knew I was sensitive to others. I could sense a lot of information around me, and it was like a data overload because I'm sensing how that person feels. I'm sensing how that person feels, sensing how that person feels. And what I'm hearing is, you need to toughen up. Like, that's a problem. You can't do that. And so I'm hearing you can't be what you are. And it was a real conflict for me. You need to toughen up, you know, all those sort of things that we hear. And I thought, I have this disability. I'm just going to be going through life. And so here I am kind of pulling back, but I'm a rock drummer.
Mhm.
The drums gave me a voice and expression of the power that I knew was inside me, but I felt like the sensitivity put a cap on it. For some
Yes.
reason, I understand the mechanics a lot better now, but at the time it just felt like, you got this problem, that's it, you just get used to it, kid.
So you were a kid that was sensitive, and then you went into drum kind of to be able to like express that power, but then you found a better way to express that powers through being a spiritual guide and clairvoyant. But I want to stay a little bit with the young age because a lot of people don't understand. I know children that are sensitive and their parents don't understand. Do you have a story when you were young, you were sensitive and you were made felt you're not all right? Like you have like something that can illuminate for parents how that feels to a child?
Yes, let me offer two, one of my own and one of when I helped a young person later.
Mhm.
And so on my own, I think one of the hardest things I had to go through was a funeral. Whoa, man, because of all the grief energy, right? And I believe it was my grandmother that passed away first. And when you're young, it's like that's the first experience of a loss like that, or grief, you know. And I thought, well, she lived a good life. Way to go. You know, this is my thinking as a child.
How
And
old? How old?
I was maybe, gosh, junior high, I think.
Mhm.
And I remember thinking, in my mind, it's okay to go, but everybody else, and this is in the South here in the United States, you know, and there's a lot of popular ideas about how you need to be when you're grieving. You need to say, I'm sorry, 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 so sorry, and you need to just have all this grief. Um, we had to stand in front of the casket, and I would not look at the casket because I'm like, that's she's not there. My grandmother's not, she's up here.
Uh-huh.
And she's happy. Um, but the grief, when we had to stand in line and everybody walked by and they didn't know it, but they were all putting their own grief. And I was sensing all of that. And so going home at the end of the day with 50 people's grief, it was, I don't remember at the time, but if I didn't get sick, I should have.
Uh-huh.
Because that's probably one of the hardest things I had to go through because I had no tools. I didn't know there was an off button. I do now. I know where the volume knob is now. But at the time, I thought this is just the way life is. I'm picking up all of this. It must be mine. I must have all this grief. And I remember people looking at me going like, whoa, she's really sad. Her grandmother's gone. I'm like, no, I'm not. Whoa.
Like 50 people worth of sad, right?
Yeah.
So that's tough, and when you don't understand. And then I want to stay with your story. And then when did you go into drumming? Like from this grief, the sensitive, I want to understand kind of what went through your emotions and through your mind to say, I want to do drums.
Well, there's another part in there too in my own story of I was very active. I was always very, very active. And I think that activity kept me from, it was like off gassing all the extra emotions. So I would just wake up and I'm running somewhere. I'm on my
Yeah.
bike, I'm on my unicycle, or I'm going swimming all day at the local pool. I'm doing something sun up to sundown. I'm not sitting around the house reading a book. So I think that was really important for me at that time because I didn't know how to manage all that either. I didn't know it at the time. But as far as music, I was always interested in music. My keyboard was the first instrument, and I started that about second grade. And I just knew Dad was playing a little guitar, Mom was singing, and it was just kind of there. And I tried guitar at first, and I'm like, I don't get that. I don't get it. And I wanted to play drums. I had my sister's diaper pail that I would play on, and my brothers had this all-American high-pitched trash can that made a good snare drum, and I just made my own drum set. But they said you have to take 2 years of piano before you could take drums, so I did. And so I learned how to read music and understand in a different way. But I got into drumming and I was like, oh, this is another part of me that needs expression. It was very physical because, like I said, part of my trajectory of dealing with all the sensitivity was just go outside and climb a tree.
Yes, like move the energy. I saw you drumming on a stage recently. I saw a video of that. So then when you went into drumming, did your sensitivity subside or you put it aside? Like, how did it feel within you?
As I got older, that was always a natural expression of me. But I think one of the interesting things was drums is a very dynamic instrument, right? You're hitting stuff hard. You got permission to hit stuff hard. And as I got older, I was holding back a lot. When I was home, I could let it rip. But anytime I'm out performing, one of the other things happening was I was sensing everybody else's nervousness in the band. And I didn't know it. So being on stage, and this is one of the things I like to talk about now, and I've talked on college stages and stuff about performance anxiety. We don't realize how much is the attention points of other people. I can see it now, and see, oh, that person's, has this thought, and this person's worried about their baby, and this person's got this going on. All of that and their intentions for you. I didn't know it at the time. So I was just having overload. I do all these performances as you do through school and through grad school. I was studying music and did the master's and all that and a double major. And
the master's too? Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My
I always wanted to teach college. I finally did later. And then I realized, okay, this is cool, but yeah, this is not what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, yes. So when you were on stage and you're sensing the other players' emotions, I also know from stories that the drummer is the one that kind of grounds the team, the players. Is that true?
Well, there's different thoughts on that. I like to. I mean, I don't want everybody coming into me. I want to play in the middle. I want us to be together and tune in together. I do it a little differently now, but yeah, I would listen intently to the rhythm section. I feel like we're one section.
So you were a drummer and then you got to be rock drummer, which is like even more loud and intense.
Yeah.
And do you feel at that time were you disconnected from your clairvoyance sensitivities?
Yes.
Or I think you were explaining to me that it was like even more overload. Just help me understand.
Yeah. Well, drumming's always been real physical, like we said. And I started out playing jazz and big bands and clubs and stuff. And you do have to hold it back a lot for that. I had a moment one time where I really got to cut loose after a sound healing that was a real shifting point for me. I don't know if you want to hear
Go to
about
sound
that.
healing. Yeah, sound healing is interesting.
This was after I finished my master's, and I was thinking, okay, I've just been doing school, do the best I can, and then, wait a minute, now I'm a human out in the world. I'm a grown up now, I guess. What does this mean?
Mhm.
So
And
I realized that's when I first started looking around, and this is in Dallas, where you just throw a rock and you hit a church. And so I thought, well, my answer is maybe my community is in a church somewhere, so I'll try the churches. It's not quite it. And then all the self-help books were coming out in the 80s and 90s. I thought,
Mhm.
oh, this is cool. This is cool. But there's still something else. So I'm consuming all of this spiritual stuff and still playing clubs and holding back a little bit. And my favorite bookstore had these, I don't know, all of a sudden it seemed like they had these sound healing booths around the outside. And I don't know what that was. It's like late 80s, early 90s. And I
Wow.
thought, okay, sign me up for all of them.
All of them.
Yeah, they had a variety pack. So I'm like, yes, please. And there was one day that I got on one, and you had magnets and blinking lights and sound coming up through the thing. And I thought, well, I don't know, whatever. I just knew inside there's answers for me out in the world, and I'm physical. And so this might be a way of having a physical experience. And sure enough, it was supposed to be an hour appointment. And it seemed like 10 minutes in, the guy came back and said, okay, you're done. And I'm like, no, I want my full hour. I was gone. As soon as they turned the machine on, I went somewhere. And I didn't think much about it other than I felt happy and joyful. In school, I was just like, study, 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 study. And I don't think I was that joyful. And
Studies.
after that, I felt a little more joyful. And I had a gig that night, and I'm playing in the big band, just bap, 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 bow, bow. And I was just really kicking it. And I remember the saxophone player turning around and going, what got into you? And I just felt like it's already been there. I've known it's there, but I haven't been able to express it yet, because I always thought, okay, sensitivity and all this, I got to hold it in because I'm too sensitive for the world. But this was an opening for me to kind of start peeking into the spiritual side, opening up a little bit more of me. I didn't have a daily practice yet. I was just a spiritual consumer at that part, learning, trying churches, trying books and sound healing and stuff. So that was door opening. And you know what, come to think of it, it might have been after that point that I realized I've been on this trajectory to teach college. I was offered a college teaching job by very preeminent, I mean, it would have been a great gig. And I think it was right after that healing that was like, no, that's not the right step for me. I'll be stuck there in that realm of like orchestral college teaching. And I don't like playing in orchestras. Don't tell
Mhm.
anybody. That was that's part of
Mhm.
the degree, but I really didn't enjoy it.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I'm living in Dallas, and I go, nope, I got to move. I got to go to
Yeah.
San Francisco.
So I want to point something from what you said, because I feel it's very important, and it goes with your show title, like the sensitive to personal power, because we are led to believe that when you're sensitive is somehow weak.
Yeah.
Because you are sensitive, you're weak. But I discovered through my story and through the story that you are sharing, and I know it as a fact now, that sensitivity is a power. And
Yes.
when you learn, as you open up, as you're saying, after that healing, sound healing, and then you went and play with your full power, we can understand that sensitivity can be expressed and it's powerful. So we're just needing to shift this idea that being sensitive is weak, which is, I think, the way that the society taught us to be. And to know that sensitivity, you have like a superpower, like an extra power, and you can be powerful, and you can bang on drums, and you can make everybody pay attention, as Julia has done. So,
You just described my book. Thank you.
oh, I didn't know. Well, I didn't know you have a book. What's your book title?
I'm working on it. It's in the
Oh,
works.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay, you know, we're two intuitives on the call. That's kind of
Yes.
cool always. So yes, I'm so happy that that's what your book is about, because I think the world needs to hear this. Because sensitivity is not praised. It's like academics, like as you said, you are serious in school, academics, do well, mark the grades. And sensitivity is something like for the wimps or whatever they call it, like for the weak
Exactly.
people, right?
Yeah. Not
And
at all.
which is not at all, it's actually a superpower. But as you said, we need to learn tools, and you will probably share a bit about the tools. Now, tell me how you got into the clairvoyance and how you trained, or what was your path from that moment to becoming a spiritual guide?
Yeah, so I had that moment of all of a sudden Dallas and the trajectory to being a college teacher here and just like hunkering down, and that's what I am for the rest of my life, going, nope, there's more spiritual information I have to find. And I know I have to go to California. So I went by myself. I moved by myself. I loaded up a truck. I didn't have a job, a place to stay, put it all in storage, and then just here I am.
You just drove somewhere?
Yeah, yeah. I put my stuff randomly in Alameda. I thought, well, there's beaches there, I guess. And then I rented a place in the city, and I'm looking around. Who am I? What am I doing? And I started playing clubs. Finally, I got to play rock music, which is what I always wanted to do. But as you might imagine, it's not very lucrative.
Uh-huh.
And it's a party environment. And to your question earlier, how did I manage the sensitivity? Oh, well, I'll just shut it out with beer. So
Oh,
I tried to shut it out with beer for a while, and I wasn't really accessing. I was just covering it up, and all I was doing was leaving the body. I would leave my awareness from my physical self, and I would just kind of float up here.
yeah.
And I'm
Not
studying spiritual.
grounded.
Yeah, and it was
Not
it was
grounded.
in a big conflict because I was still interested in spiritual content, but I was living this other life, and I'm like, pulling it back and forth. And just had an aha moment. What if I take a break from the partying? Immediately, I started meditating. And this was a life that I could see for myself, of like supplements and herbal teas and yoga and meditation. And I just imagined it in this far off land somewhere. None of that was in my environment growing up.
Mhm.
So I didn't know even how steps to get there. Well, they just started unfolding. I left a job working in was a nonprofit that taught self-defense for women. So talk about power and opening your
Uh-huh.
own power. I'm literally learning all these skills, self-defense, but it's really about self-empowerment at the
Mhm.
time. And yeah, things were shifting and shifting. And then this man moved in next door to me, a young
Uh-huh.
man, just out of the blue. It's like I must have been calling out to the universe and didn't know it. And this young man moves in next door, and I've been looking for spiritual stuff, looking. Is it shamanism? Is it this? Is it this? And he showed me this book, and I went, oh, that's the stuff.
You
There's my
felt it.
answers.
You
I
felt
knew
it.
it, totally knew it in every fiber of my being. And I'm like, give me that. That's the stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I put away partying since then. That's
Also, just like a shift like that, boom,
yeah,
found the
yeah.
book, put the party away, and started this
Yeah,
journey.
30 years ago. And like no more beer. I don't eat red meat really, since I had to shift a lot of things as I was stepping up in frequency to be at that higher self. And that's just my path. I'm not saying for anybody else.
Yeah.
But immediately I started meditating. This guy shows up with this book, and there's a 40-step program, and I did that. And then there was another step and another step. So like for 5 or 6 years, that got me going. But the real shift to clairvoyant work, and that was all service to humanity. I'm just, like, oh, peace and love. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But I still was picking up a lot of energy. I was still feeling small and like overwhelmed a lot by what I was picking up.
Mhm.
By the way, people that are leaders or have a lot of power that you're working with, sometimes that power can amplify the sensitivities. Just
Yeah.
on a mechanical note.
That's a great thought. That's a great thought.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you my story, but the first time I actually went to an energy healer, I was still in my corporate career and I was a manager and I was interviewing candidates. So I was the powerful person And I was nervous. So that was the first time when I said, like, what's going on? I'm the person who makes the decision. I'm not the one, that gets or doesn't get the job. Why am I nervous? And that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it has to do with if you look at the energy system and like the solar plexus, you think about your power center, your will energy and stuff. People that are more in a leadership, natural leaders. Now you can be different soul types and lead people, but leadership, you need a strong solar plexus, and that's, you think about it like a little nuclear powerhouse there, and it's amplifying. So if you're also sensitive, then it can amplify. Here's somebody's worry energy. Now I got bigger with my own power, so that can all be adjusted. But yeah, we don't realize that. And nobody teaches you this until I actually got a reading from somebody, and this is how I got into clairvoyance.
Tell me about the reading. I wanted just to mention that you said nuclear power, and I don't know if you know, but I worked in nuclear power. So you're
no, I didn't.
We're picking up on each other, two intuitives doing a show. So go ahead, tell me about that reading.
I was drumming around the coast, and a friend's girlfriend, another drummer's girlfriend at the time, was a psychic, and we became friends. And I thought, psychic, fortune tellers, whatever, but she's cool. I like her a lot. She's playful. She's always laughing. And some friends and I all decided to go get a reading from her. She was at this bookstore or something. We all go get readings. And this is back when you get a reading on a cassette player. You push the button, you pull it out, and you flip it over, and you push the buttons. And I was validated for who I am for the first time. I felt seen and heard for the first time. This style that she did, which is what I teach and what I learned, is to really validate the soul, the hard drive, who you are on the core. And then, we have these daily things we're working on. But if you keep validating who they are in the core, and that grows and blossoms, then it sort of makes the others easier to let go of. And feeling validated on that level, I had no experience like that. I didn't know what that was. And she said, yeah, you should come take these classes. And I'm like, I've already been meditating. Why do I take meditation 1? She said, well, that's just where you start. And finally I did. And I was like, oh man, that other stuff was really heavy and dense. And you have like step. And this is reading a book, Irina, this is before the internet, right?
Yeah.
And that got me started. And I got in the first class, and then the second class. And then the next step's clairvoyant training. And I'm like, but I'm not clairvoyant. I don't see stuff like they do. And why do I want to do that? And finally I was like, but I know this is my path. I know I'm enjoying this. I know I want to learn more. I'm finally learning about my own energy system instead of just sitting down and meditating out for the world, finally learning how to take care of myself and dial down the sensitivities. And they had answers for all of that. And I'm like, wow, I'm at Hogwarts. This is cool. If you're a Harry Potter fan.
Yes.
So that's where it all.
So I want to ask you, because we want to shift into your gifts. So did you put the drums away to dedicate yourself to being clairvoyant and a spiritual guide, or how does it work in your life once you did the shift?
Yeah, it's been a gradual shift, which I recommend for my clients too. So for me, it wasn't that I couldn't see. When I first started the training, they teach you go here, you align here, you look at this, you do that. It's all just very technique. And I appreciate that than just kind of spacing out, because I'll just space out. But I realized that I had a lot of filters in the way. And so I started clearing those off, and then all of a sudden I could see. I moved into, jobs got better, and I was working as a studio director. So I had a recording studio and a studio that had practice space for people. Well, the first one was just a recording studio, and I was doing audio services and stuff. And I was like less and less interested in that, and more interested in the spiritual stuff. And I asked them, can I cut my hours to half so I can go over here more? And it was just like that. It was just gradual. And then that job, shifted or bought ups and stuff like that. And eventually it was just like, okay, I've been doing this for so long now. Naturally, I want to share it. And people would just show up and say, hey, will you come talk to my group? And I would get paid more than I've ever been paid for anything. And so I'm like, I guess this is a confirmation from the universe. Go do this now. And I
Yeah.
still kind of gradually stepped in. I'm like, I'm playing gigs, I'm still playing shows. I do audio production. I started doing audio production for my spiritual teacher, Michael Tamura. And then I was doing readings and teaching and healing on the side. And I just kind of let it all flow. But the last few years was like, no, this is the time in history where it's got to be on steroids, like just teaching, doing this all day long. So that's
I
what I'm doing.
agree
And I
with
love
you.
it.
It's definitely is the time when we need to step up and take space and lead others and guide others, and especially sensitive people that usually think less of themselves than other people. So I feel that we can go into a demo. You said that you're going to read my energy, or I don't know if you want me to ask you a question, but I feel that is the right place for you kind of to showcase. And we
Okay.
haven't arranged it, so it's genuine and true, and whatever comes through for you. And I'll let
Okay.
you lead this part.
Okay. I'm just gonna, it's easier to see without just to go inside and see. Let me get my zone. Okay. So let me just give an overview quick. And if you have a question and if I'm rambling too long, you can say, okay, next. um, so as I look at your energies, you have a lot of yellows and a lot of oranges, and this shows a particular type of soul. You look very joyful, like you like to bring people to a level of joy, and you really like working in groups. Like to you, why wouldn't you work in a group, you know? And so your leadership is more like as a group, we're together and we move forward rather than like maybe one leader might want to kind of pull people forward. Another type of leadership is like, I'm going to give you the cues from the back of the line so you can go forward. Yours is more like holding hands in a circle and you're like, here we go. So the one of the things that you're really good at is bringing things into balance, into harmony. And so part of that is a natural ability bringing things into harmony. Just be aware of the opposite side of that is you probably don't like conflict, like meh, don't like that, because you want to bring it back into a balance. Do you have a question?
I wanted to say that my name Irina means peace, so I'm all about peace and harmony, and I don't like when people suffer or argue or stuff like
Yeah.
that.
You're a very sensitive soul. You've been since you were a kid, and you probably felt out of place with that sensitivity. It looks like you probably had imaginary friends, but there's somebody's sister that looks like as a spirit that would show up, like a deceased somebody's sister that would show up when you were a kid. Do you remember, like around 8?
Somebody's sister.
You had lighter color hair.
No, somebody's sister.
Like it show up as a playmate, and to everyone else she would be invisible, but she's actually just a deceased somebody's sister.
The only like spirit that I remember as a child that was playing with me was a bear spirit. It would
A
come
bear?
a bear, yeah, would come to
Yeah.
the window and wave at me, and nobody would see. Then I would say, "Grandma, look at the bear," and she looks at what?
It's a very powerful image.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But not a
You
young
also look
lady. I
like,
don't remember. It's possible, but I can
in,
remember.
in terms of ability, like your hands are really lit up in for healing, your clairsentience, which is feeling energy, and also clairaudience, where you hear things, where you might get a little, hey, you need to make this choice. And it'll be, direct words. I'm pointing to where the energy center lights up. And so for people that have that ability, sometimes maybe they have thyroid or strep throat or something. But on the other end of it is the ability of communicating with spirit very easily there. Also, your hands are really lit up. They're like a bright pink, like, come on, everybody, come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's all go. Come on. It's got that kind of like magnetic energy, like you're just dying to reach bigger crowds and have, because that's creative energy. Creative energy runs from across here down the arms and out the hands. And so it just shows you're really wanting to get all these people together, bring that creativity and like help shift the world into what, a more joyful, peaceful place as a like for you as the being at the hard drive level.
That's my mission. And can I ask a question?
Yes.
What do you see around my passion project with the horses for youth? I'm not going to say more than that, except if you need me to.
Yes. There again, communication. And this is something you've been good at since you were a child, is I would say, like, I don't know how woo-woo we can get on this channel.
Go for it. It's about enlightenment, right?
Okay. Like nature spirits. So there's different, like there's loved ones is kind of one group of spirits that can show up. Angel beings are kind of another. Nature spirits are kind of another. And that whole consciousness level, you're very tuned in on that level. And horses are going to be a big part about transformation for people. And it's through that communication expression that you have that's going to be really, really, the time is now for that. And it's really just ripe for the picking. That's 100% great goal to be doing right now. It puts all of your specialties together, and the working with kids naturally too. And there's especially a lot of young girls are attracted to you and they don't know why. That's just you as a teacher, and attracted to your energy. Boys too, but it looks like a lot of girls emulating you and wanting to learn and feeling really safe there. There's a lot of dogs around too in the this image.
In the image. And because I have one horse now and I started working with a few youth. Do you see more horses coming?
Yeah, and I see you going out.
Because I'm at this place where I am is like the next step. And that's why, like, if there is a guidance on what's the next step.
Yeah, going out to like local places. And even if you say you're working with the adult owner, the kids will magnetize, whether you advertise it's for kids or not. And the whole thing is you're communicating with the horse, and the horse, there's a lot of transmutation or transformation that can happen together with them. They can't just do it on their own. It's like working with your spirit guides. You need to communicate specifically. Here's what we're doing. And then there's permission and like a symbiotic relationship of working together with the horse to help transform the energies. This time period we're in is really ripe, and especially April looks really good for you. It's coming right up, like mid-April, of some new doors opening, and there's a school of some sort too. It looks like I'm seeing horse trailers and some sort of school for something. I don't know what it is, but you can go right in there and start being part of that. I wonder if it's like a special needs group or something, or it's already a group that's working together, and they're working with horses to overcome traumas or fears or something. But you can also come in, it looks like, and add your expertise in that.
Wonderful. So when clients come to you, bringing it back to you and how you serve clients, like this was a little bit of a demo, and I thank you for it. You were like right on with a lot of the things that you mentioned. So why do clients seek you? Like, what's your specialty? What's your if you had like the perfect client and the perfect situation, what is that?
I love helping other healers, so other helpers of the world. Mr. Rogers might have called the helpers of the world. I love helping other healers like yourself, people who work with others, whether in leadership or they just enjoy helping people. They're somatic healers, they're therapists, they're nurses, or they just are a magnet for people with problems. Just might be a healer. I love helping those people so that they can stay tuned up and keep working with other people, because it's too easy to have overwhelm and get sidetracked to feel like I can't do that anymore. Like a nurse contacted me recently. She says, I walk in the room with the client and I know exactly what's going on. Okay, great. No problem so far, right? But then she goes, then I can feel their pain. What if they just had a surgery and now you're doubled over in pain that's not yours? And I can show her
So
just a
you
couple
teach
of
them. So
adjustments.
that's what you're teaching them,
Yeah.
how to do their sensitivity, turn it into power. Is basically that's kind of the theme here. So you're showing them tools, you're working with them. Just
Yes.
explain a little bit because I don't know.
This system came from two master teachers above me. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not
So it's
I'm
not
not
your
making it
own,
up.
but you're
Yes.
helping them with tools, with
Yes.
guidance.
Yes, so there's step-by-step process. So the first thing is letting go of other energies that aren't ours. You know, learning to see and separate. If you're working with other people and you're picking up their energy, here's some worry over here, here's some grief over here, here's a trauma over here. And then all of a sudden that's vibrating in your space and you go, oh, I'm overloaded, I can't do this anymore. Pause. You can. So the first part would be to teach them how to separate, get rid of everybody's energy that's not theirs, start turning their own powers on, start shifting from just feeling energy to knowing, to seeing and knowing. Because then a client walks in and you don't have to, it's really lowering your vibration and matching where the pain is. You can stay in your joy because you would prefer to be in joy.
Yeah.
And then be able to see, oh, that person just went through a breakup. Or, you know, you get that intuitive download. There's technical places where you sit in your head and get those downloads of how to help and work with people.
Yes, like I do energy healing and I feel the pain, but it's just like temporary, like I feel it, but it's not my pain. So, but this came to me naturally. Like I don't know how I've done, didn't use any technique per se, but I understand. So, like last night I had a group healing and I said like I feel somebody's pain in the back, but I don't take it. I just take it as information and then it goes.
Yeah.
And you said you have a gift for people who are watching this. What is it?
Yes, if anybody's feeling sensitive or like empaths and feeling like I'm picking up too much other people's, my boyfriend's energy or my boss's energy, and I don't know how to be around that, take this free class on my website. Just a window comes over and I'll send you that free class right away, juliaharrell.com, and try that out and see if that doesn't help and get you started.
Excellent. I loved this show. I have a last question. Do you still drown? And when
Oh,
you
absolutely.
drown, do you get intuitive insights or not?
Oh, yeah, you know, it's interesting. I remember playing, what comes to mind when you mention that is I was playing up in the wine country and I was playing with a steel drum band. I love Caribbean music. And we're playing along and I'm watching a woman get drunker and drunker,
Oh,
as you do when you're um, wine tasting. And I saw a body, an outside spirit came in
yeah.
and I'm watching this whole thing and I'm going, okay, that's your life, go ahead. But then she started sort of attacking our area where we're performing, and I was like, nope. So I just checked in and I used a couple techniques and I pulled the being out of her head, and then she actually literally collapsed to the floor. And because she was too drunk to be standing, really. And then some people came and helped her and they moved her off and she got some help, you know. And so some people got her home and she was back in her own space. And so more often than not, now that I have tools, I find myself being able to help. When I'm out playing music too, though, I get that joy energy. Like people are dancing to your music, that all comes back, and it's just this joy. Even if I'm playing prisons, where I just recently played a local prison, and
Oh.
they're excited that you're there and you're performing, and they're happy. I mean, there's some other energies too, but it's like that joy. It still comes back.
Well, it's really great that you are able to do what gives you joy and you don't let those things interfere. So you are kind of winning on both ends, like you're doing the drums when you feel like it and when you serve through that. And then you do the clairvoyance and spiritual guidance at other times. So thank you for being on the Entrepreneur Enlightenment TV. I know people will enjoy hearing how sensitivity can be turned into power if you learn the tools. Go to Julia's website and see her course that she's offering. And I hope to see you next time for the next episode.